Okay, hello everyone, and welcome to our Rock the Basics call. Today is January 19th, and tonight we're going to talk about how to expand your network. You'll learn more about this topic tonight because I remember it was one thing I struggled with. I remember, hitting Success Club every single month for my first, probably over a year as a coach. And then I realized, last January 2015, it hit. And I remember messaging Carly 3/4 of the way through the month, and I was freaking out. I said, Carly, I have 0 Success Club points. I thought this was going to be the year that, I'm going to make this business my focus. And meanwhile, I was so stressed out. I didn't know what to do. I didn't have those conversations formed because, I ran my network dry. I wasn't adding to my network consistently because I felt like I didn't know how. And have you guys ever felt that way, that you're like, oh, I don't want to, keep talking to the same 5 people, and then get to that point where, you have nothing else to do. So tonight I'm going to talk to you guys about that. Let me just plug my headphones in because I hear some echoes. Can you guys still hear me? Yeah? Okay, cool. So let's get started. So here's a little bit more about me for those of you that don't know me. I am 22 years old. I'm from Boston, Massachusetts. And if I didn't say my name already, I'm Sarah Chikianis. For those of you that don't know how to say my last name, I'm a Success Club All-Star legend, and I will share more about how I actually did that because of, adding to my network consistently. I'm a diamond coach. I am not a full-time Beachbody coach. I am also an assistant daycare provider for my mom's home daycare, and I'm the founder of my team, Team Knockout. And I've been a coach since August 2013. So I've been a coach for almost 2.5 years now. And I will say that, just because I've been a coach long, it doesn't mean anything. I felt like I really got my business started last year because that's when I plugged into my resources and realized, we don't have to reinvent the wheel. We have such amazing resources as is. So with that, I also have celiac disease, autoimmune disease, PCOS, and this kind of rare disorder called mast cell activation. So, I felt like I had all odds against me and I was still able to be successful in this business. And I always go by the message. I tell my team all the time, turn your mess into a message because other people out there need to see it. So I made it my priority to share everything on social media. I didn't care. Yes, it was scary at first. I remember the first time my Instagram synced to my Facebook because it was kind of like an anonymous Instagram. And I remember being so nervous about it. But it turns out Facebook and Instagram are now my jam, and that's how I build my business. So I'll share more about that. So like I mentioned before, back in the beginning of my business, I thought I knew it all because I was hitting Success Club, which was great. But then last year, January 2015, after I was in the business for already a year and hitting Success Club consistently, I realized I ran my network dry. I wasn't consistently adding new people. Yes, I was doing those 5-day clean eating groups, but 5 and 10 people per month getting added to my network was not enough because, 5 and 10 people, 1 in 10 people usually say yes. So that wouldn't equal the Success Club points I needed to keep my business going and keep, my network growing. So I like this photo because, it reminded me that success is never an upwards battle. You go up, you go down. That's just how business is. So in order to keep your business in your hands and be sure you're hitting Success Club consistently, you need to make sure that you keep that network filled and keep adding to it, okay? So here's how I began taking action. I learned what successful coaches were doing. I plugged in. Any training was free training to me. I would Google and YouTube everything. I tell my coaches when they first get started, I say, if you know how to YouTube and Google, you'll be successful in this business. But you need to be ready. Be a student and start learning. Plug into all the team calls you can. Monday and Tuesday nights are my work nights. My boyfriend knows that. My family knows that. They know that those nights are the nights I'm on calls. And it took some sacrifice, but let me tell you, it's been the best decision for me. And then I know the other days of the week, I can be more flexible and I work the business when I can. I plug into the team trainings, rock the basics. Perfect. I didn't have that when I was a new coach. We didn't have that back then. But plug in to anywhere you can. Google, I'm guarantee you can find other trainings as well. On YouTube, I started learning from top coaches like Lindsay Matway, Brittany Leggett, and other top coaches and just really dove in. I would search ways to expand your network or ways to follow up with people. So instead of just putting that pressure into numbers and thinking just about a sale, I instead became friends with these people. I set out each and every day to become friends with someone new. So I took action. I didn't wait for, my coach to say, Sarah, here's how to do it. I took action and I started implementing that. I take time each and every week now to implement what I'm learning for the week, or else we just, have a toolbox full of tools we aren't using. And I realized that's what I was doing. So now I take time every Friday. That's my day off from daycare, and I implement. I sit down and I decide, where can I implement the things I'm learning, right? Or I go out there and I find new Facebook friends. So here's some ways to expand your network. And if you guys have any questions, feel free to stop me. Sometimes I talk fast. So ways to expand your network, clean eating groups. Those are the most beneficial ways to grow that network. So as a diamond coach, I run them for my team. So all my team needs to do is invite. I recommend if you're an emerald coach or a diamond coach, even a brand new coach, start running these groups. Don't wait. I've been running these groups since October 2013. And that's the reason my business is growing. I always have a way to, add people into my network, a free way to give them value, to provide support and accountability. I also run a free PCOS challenge group monthly, 10-day clean eating group for PCOS only. And that's just an ongoing group. It's a plug and play system I have on hand so I can give people that support. Another way is Instagram. Talk to as many people as you can, through direct message or converting people from Instagram to Facebook to become their friends. I found so many great friends on Instagram that later became my coaches because of these free groups. A great way to, get people from Instagram to Facebook is those free groups. It's because, it's a great way to not be like, hey, can you give me your Facebook username? Like, that's so creepy, right? Instead, I'm like, hey, girl, I'd love for you to join my 5-day clean eating group. Do you want to add me on Facebook? Here's my name, Sarah Chikianis. They'll add me in and I add them to the group. Simple as that. I start forming them. I don't wait until the 5 days are over to continue messaging them. I'll message them throughout the week. Hey girl, happy Tuesday. How's your week going? I just did that today for many of my challengers. Just remember, people aren't just a sale. They're going to be your friends. And that's really how I took before I was, turning people into numbers. And now I'm just making sure I have these new friends coming in. Another way is to blog. I am an avid blogger. My blog is realizingvitality.com, and I pin my posts to Instagram. Okay, so my recipes, my posts about PCOS or celiac disease are all on, not Instagram, sorry, Pinterest. And I pin them on there so people can find me. And then that creates a lot of traffic to my blog. I actually learned that from Lauren Kaliski, one of our upline coaches, and I highly recommend learning more about that because that was great. In person, I am an introvert, but I still talk to people in person. I like to do trade shows. My town does them a lot, or like town fairs. Sometimes it's like $25. You get a table and you're able to give information and share. So I do that. It was really hard for me in the beginning because, I'm an introvert. I'm very shy, but I realized I need to step out of my comfort zone. So I think we're frozen. I hope you guys can still hear me. Friends and family, that was not my thing in the beginning. I was like, oh no, friends and family, I don't want to talk to them. I was afraid of the judgment, but you know what? They've been my biggest supporters. Some of my best friends are just coming around now 2.5 years later saying, you know what? I see this works for you. I need to know more. And I know other people reach out right in the beginning to their friends and family, but I know some new coaches, they don't want to do that. And that was me. So I have all these other ways. And lastly, I also have a YouTube channel, and that's a great way to, build contacts as well. But I will say, those clean eating groups, 5-day groups, we have the files in Team Iron Edge. I'm still in Team Knockout. Use them. They're there for you guys to use. So make sure you are doing 5-day clean eating groups each month. My team knows that I have a calendar each and every month that they can follow, and they know when our 5-day clean eating group starts. And if you have extra packets, so say this month you have an overload of Shakeology and you want to get, say the new barista package, get the packets and then you can sell them for your 5-day free clean eating group. So it's a win-win right there. And it's a great way. So now I would say on average, just from the clean eating groups, I average 20 to 45 or 50 people just adding to my network monthly, just from that 1 week I do the clean eating groups. And then I do add people in each and every day too from Facebook groups. Another way I do Facebook groups is, I search things that are relatable to me. I want you guys to think of 5 to 10 things that interest you. For me, it's PCOS, celiac disease, clean eating. You could do crocheting. You can do, I actually went to school online, so that's one of my groups. And I just post in there. Just post anything and everything. Add people when you're responding back to someone in a Facebook group and you see, that you have no mutual friends and they aren't a coach or anything, add them. Why not? That's what I do. Anytime I respond back to someone on a Facebook group that's, not my Facebook group, I add them. That's one more person you can add to your network. And later, you don't have to message them right away, or you can message them and do that ongoing conversation. But oftentimes I'll add them, and then later on, they'll even message me about a group, or I'll just be like, hey girl, did you ever get that answer about a meal plan for PCOS or something like that? Okay. How to grow your contact list. It's very simple, right? Set out each and every day, like I said, to make a new friend. That's it. Don't go into groups, fishing for people. Instead, just go out there and make a new friend. Focus on getting to know your prospects and know them well. Like I said, many of them are my best friends. I just had some of my people that are interested in coaching message me today telling me about how their day went, or telling me about, how their kid's sick and they need some motivation to work out. So make sure that you get to know them and they're your friends, because they'll trust you, and then you won't have to worry about them, going MIA, because you have that relationship built. That was one mistake I made when I first became a coach, was, I wasn't getting to know them. Next, ask yourself, what would you ask your friend? Would you say you had an enrollment out, right? Would you ask your friend, hey, did you complete the challenge enrollment? Or would you say, hey girl, how was your day? Happy Monday. So instead, I just said every day, and I sent hey girl messages. That's just what I call them. And I say, hey girl, how was your day? Because I have that relationship built. Or I'll say, hey girl, happy Monday. What are your plans this week? Or what are your goals for the upcoming week, if we already talked about their health and fitness? So that's just what I do. I just send these messages that are pretty mindless. They're honestly fun for me to send because I have all these conversations going. And then when it's time for me to enroll in a challenge group, oftentimes I can either message them and just, it won't be weird. I'll say, hey girl, I have an upcoming challenge group. I know you liked my post about my upcoming group. Would you want to join us? Something like that. Or oftentimes they even come to me because I have that relationship built. Okay. So pick 2 networks and start there. Okay. This is something Chalene Johnson talks about in her podcast, and I highly recommend her podcast. But she says, pick 2 networks to expand and then start there. Focus on these 2 platforms instead of trying to learn 10 different ones. Instead of learning YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Pinterest, Tumblr all at once, pick 2. For me, it's Facebook and Instagram. On Facebook, I form in Facebook groups. And on Instagram, I grow my network and I direct message new contacts. It's so simple once you take out the stress of, what do I say? Or like each and every day freaking out saying, I have to hit Success Club. Instead, focus on adding to that network, and then you won't feel as stressed in the long run. Okay, so some social media examples, okay? This on the left is one thing that someone asked in a PCOS group. They said, so I'm having trouble with figuring out what to eat in the morning. They tell me I should eat an hour after I get up, but I don't have time. Is eating a banana okay? And then a couple hours eating oatmeal, okay? So someone's just asking for advice. So here I am answering. I said a banana is okay to eat first thing in the morning, try to get protein in. And then I also share I have a shake in the morning. I don't say I have Shakeology and it's the best meal ever and you should buy it and here's my coach ID number. Instead, I just say you can have a shake in the morning. That's what I do. And I add them on Facebook. And then later on, I'll be like, hey girl, did you ever figure out ideas to have for breakfast, or do you still need help? And then private message is a great way to form that relationship, because if you go into Facebook groups and start blabbing about Shakeology, you're going to get kicked out. And I made that mistake before too. And another example on social media is my profile right here on Instagram. And you can see, I don't just blab about Beachbody, and I don't even talk about Shakeology. I call it my superfood shake. That's a great way to share on social media with being real, be you guys. That's one thing I also did in the beginning was I was posting stock photos, those pictures of Autumn and pictures of Tony Horton. I just didn't get it. Or pictures of just a random Shakeology cup kissing it. Instead, be you guys, because people are going to be so much more curious about you when they don't think, you're just like every other 400,000 Beachbody coaches. Don't be that cookie cutter coach is what I tell my coaches, because, then people are going to want to get to know you instead as a person. Okay, lastly, before our Q&A is some action items. I want you guys to focus on adding to your network each and every day. It's simple. Maybe come up with a number, 2 to 5 people per day that you want to add to your network. The more, the better, of course. And have a checklist. That's what I do each and every day. I have a certain amount of people I want to add to my network, how many challenge invites, how many business invites to send. Because at the end of the month, your numbers won't match up if you're adding 2 people on the first of the month and 2 people at the end of the month. It's not the same. Focus on abundance and not scarcity. I remember in the beginning thinking, I have to message this girl first before someone else does because I'm going to lose 2 Success Club points. And that's wrong. Instead, focus on the abundance. There's so many people out there that need your help, guys. The amount of people that are out there needing your help far outnumber those who say no. I remember when I first got my first no, I thought I was so unconfident because I was like, oh my gosh, I'm not going to hit Success Club. Oh my gosh, I'm a bad coach. Maybe I did something wrong. That's not the case. Oftentimes is people say no because they aren't ready. You guys have probably heard this before, but just remember, it's not you, it's them. They aren't ready. So no just means not right now. Success Club. Success leaves clues. You heard it on the National Coach Call. They say it all the time, and it's so true. So find a top coach that you want to learn from, and I say plug into YouTube and learn from them. I am always on there listening to past team calls from other teams when I have time. I work, as well, and I made sure I had time during the daycare kids nap time. That's when I listened to excess calls, or when I was babysitting. Because you know what? I decided that this business means more to me than watching Netflix on the couch just because I had extra time. Lastly, focus on the 3 vital behaviors daily. And I remember in the beginning, I was not doing them daily. I was doing them once in a while. Do them daily. They're vital to your business's success. Personal development. You need to get your mindset right each and every day. And I know you guys hear this all the time, but it's so true. I remember a few weeks ago, I missed a few days of personal development, and I remember being so negative, and I realized that I really need to start my day off right on that right foot. So make sure you make time for that, whether it's on your way to work or before the rest of your family gets up. 2, being a product of the product. It creates confidence. I know those days that I skip my workouts, I'm not as confident inviting to the business or sharing about a challenge group. I just got my workout in now right before this call, and I have calls all night. But I knew, as much as I didn't want to do it then, I knew that it was going to give me confidence I needed to speak on this call and to message, people that I know I want to invite tonight. Lastly, inviting. Share your story and your results. People want to know more about you than the product. So I made a post recently. You guys can go see it on Facebook. I just made it before this call. And I wrote, instead of writing join my next group, I shared my journey and my results. And that's so vital. If you don't do that, people are going to have no idea what you're doing. Even in the business, if you just share about your challenge groups and your personal workouts and positivity, people aren't going to know that there's a business opportunity waiting there for them. So just remember, guys, that be you, be real. And lastly, I love this quote: success is the sum of small efforts repeated day in and day out. And that's just the truth. So let me just stop screen sharing, and I'd love to open it up for questions. Does anyone have any questions, things that you guys need help on? I'd love to answer some. More people joined on. Does anyone need help adding to your network, or like what to say? You guys can unmute yourself or type in the chat box. Yes, no? Yeah? Okay. So I will